red lights are about to go out. The race getting underway. A pretty good start by Alexander Smith from the outside of the front row of the grid, but I think it's going to be Mark White that's going to lead into Oulton Corner for the first time. Yes, it is. Dave Russell there in the BMW is in third place, and I'm sure he'll be cheered on by the BMW Live crowds here today. He's been very successful in this series over the years. Down towards Cascades they go for the first time, and Alex Smith's got the lead then in the Integra from Mark White in second place, Dave Russell third, and then it's Phil England in that Subaru is in fourth position.
Yeah, expected to see Phil go well. Four-wheel drive traction off the line. He's gained a few positions, but David Russell, rear-wheel drive BMW, got a storming start, tried to go between the two Hondas in front of him. They squeezed into him, and there was definitely paint traded between the three cars, but they all survived, and they run 1, 2, 3 then out of the shell hairpin with, as you said, the Subaru Impreza in fourth position of Phil England. Still, they're trying to sort themselves out. 2 by 2, they're running through the shell hairpin, but the leading 3 exiting Britain's. It's another BMW then in fifth position. That looks like Adam Dewis in the 125i BMW, and I think there might have been another, at least the BMW Mini behind of Keith Atwood. So lots of BMW interest inside the top half dozen, but the car on the move is the yellow Subaru, isn't it? Phil England up to fourth position, and I would say, Ian, over the middle part of the lap, catching the leading 3.
Yep, certainly is. They are making their way out of Hislop's towards Knickerbrook. Then they'll climb up Clay Hill for the first time. There we can see Dougie Inglis with his bereaved MX-5 there, and he's being chased by Paul Martin Jones in the Commodore. But as the leaders already turning their way through Druids for the first time. Move being made there, possibly by the number 113 car, Paul Chapman in the Clio. He's trying to get past that unlikely car, the Daewoo Nexia of Ian Cooper as well, number 51. But I think that's been uprated since the last time, certainly I saw it. And it's certainly a bit further up the grid than it was. But the two leads have gone across the line, only a quarter of a second between them. So we'll keep an eye on the battle for the lead as well. But a great field that is still streaming its way through Lodge Corner as well.
Yeah, a couple of the Class D BMW 116i's getting themselves together here. And in fact, they might even be side by side up over the line. The Holden Commodore there at the inside at Old Hall Corner trying to make a move, and does indeed successfully get past the Mazda MX-5. There aren't that many opportunities to see a Holden Commodore battling an MX-5 on track, or indeed a Daewoo Nexia anywhere, quite frankly. We've got a BMW, 2 BMWs bouncing down the grass coming out of Old Hall Corner, but the Daewoo here of Ian Cooper under threat, and I think now does finally relinquish that place, does it? Yes, the Clio manages to slip through. That was Douglas Inglis, was it then, slipping through?
Paul Chapman.
Sorry, Paul Chapman, I beg your pardon, on the run down the Lakeside Straight.
Yeah, for 12th place as well. So we are well into the second lap of this race. There is the battle for the lead. It is tied, isn't it, on the way down from Hilltop towards Hislop. So Mark White is pulling out here down the inside. He is going into the right-hander at Hislop's, and I don't think he quite made it through. No, he didn't. And they're taking Dave Russell, who's in a different class, a less powerful, or lower power to weight ratio class, the Class C car. He's going right with them as well. I think he's won something like 16 out of 18 times his last 18 starts within that class. So he's certainly one to beat.
Yeah, but he'll want an overall race victory if he can get one, and we saw in that historic 750 Formula race, didn't we? Sometimes it is the driver in third place who's in the best position. When you've got two drivers ahead battling to and fro for the race lead, sometimes it's better just to try and keep a watching brief and sort of wait for things to fall into your lap. The leading 3 then round Lodge Corner, through the dip, back over the crest at Deer Leap, Honda from BMW, and Alexander Smith retains the advantage. His margin actually goes out slightly to 0.4 of a second, so about 2 car lengths as they turn through Old Hall Corner that time. But David Russell in third position, highlighting your point there, Ian. New fastest lap of the race, 1:58.5, was half a second quicker than them on that lap.
Indeed so. So we're working now lap 3 of the race. 2 Class B cars together out front, Alex Smith and Mark White. There's the Daewoo Nexia, which is now being lapped by the Holden Commodore. It gets more ridiculous, doesn't it? The contrast of cars that we have on circuit together. So that's the number 62 car going through, Paul Martin Jones, and that's for 13th place now in this race. Doug Inglis, I could just see behind in the MX-5 leading his class as well. There's the Chris Dancer Escort Mark 1. He's in 12th position at the moment, car number 15. He's chasing after Paul Chapman in the much more modern Renault Clio. You can see that just ahead, and then in front of him it's Gareth Moss in the Mark 1 MX-5, and that we can see is the Caterham as well, which belongs to number 22, Paul Mellor, who is in 8th place.
Yes, he is. Paul Mellor then sort of on his own, one of the few drivers actually with no one to battle with at the moment. Side-by-side action meanwhile, and a spinning Mazda. Around goes the number 26, and that was looking not to result in further contact for Gareth Moss. He forces the Escort to bounce across the grass, but Gareth Moss just locked up the rear brakes there, turning into the Britain chicane. He was on the inside line and trying to defend his position, but a bit too late on the brakes in the end. Around he went. He's rejoined now with no damage done, which is good news. Meanwhile, the leaders at Druids Ian, there was an attempted move again there from Mark White, but once again not able to break through the defences of Alex Smith.
No, and Alex Smith, a local driver from Oswestry, 27 years of age, been racing since 2021. This is a 1996 Type R Integra with the K20 engine, and he built this car between his deployments in 2020 and 2021. He's under threat here though from Mark White, who again is unable to find a way through going into Oulton corner, but Smith there goes just a little bit wide over the green stuff at the exit of the first turn. That doesn't really give Mark White any more of an opportunity, and Dave Russell still there in third place. I think that car is back on standard fuel now. It was on synthetic fuel, one of the first cars on synthetic fuel last season, but I think it's back on standard fuel now based on what he's told us.
And he is continuing to keep pace with the Hondas as they do battle. Mark White continuing to just kind of look to the inside into places like Old Hall. He had a little look at Lodge, but doesn't really help his exit speed, so needs to try and build up a bit of momentum here. Closes right in again through the middle of the Shell hairpin. No doubt in my mind that Mark White is a little bit quicker at the moment, but just can't find a way past the Integra. Again, peaks to the inside on the way into Britain chicane. We saw a moment ago how that can go wrong over the newly reprofiled curve on the way into the chicane, and on the exit actually the Integra of Smith just pulls a length or so once again. Up and over hilltop, they drop down towards the Hislop chicane where Mark White had a look a lap ago. He's doing the same thing again this time, but still can't fully commit to the manoeuvre. So frustrating this for Mark. He can see the opportunities, but he's always just that half a car length or so too far back to make anything of them.
Yeah, there you can see the Andrew Holmes MGB. That's probably one of the older cars on the grid here, and a couple of the more modern Peugeots up behind. And I think one of those was that of Paul Waterhouse. And that is a battle for 17th, 18th, 19th, that kind of position, a bit further back down the order. Here it is, and also getting involved in that, I think, is Alex Waldeck. Yes, it is in the number 23 car as well, just behind Paul Waterhouse. But it's Andrew Holmes at the head of that group in that MGB GT. As I say, 17th, 18th and 19th positions I think they're occupying. Then they've got the Sultan low cost, I think, just behind them as well, of Sean Graham, and also another Peugeot 206 as well I can see. So we have a Peugeot feel to this battle, which is heading out of Hislops up through Knickerbrook and Clay Hill. We've got 11.5 minutes or so of this race left to go, 20-minute race for the Armed Forces Race Challenge. There's Doug Inglis going through in 15th place overall in his Class D leading car. He's just ahead of this battle that's continuing to work its way through the right-hander at Druids.
Yep, underneath the bridge then, towards the braking zone at Lodge Corner. The leaders are at Shell, and we've had a lead change, so we have now finally seen the Civic get back ahead of the Integra, and Mark White leads the way then. So Alex Smith down to second position, and David Russell in the BMW in third, and already you can see the Civic getting away, although he understeers pretty horrendously through the middle of the Britain chicane then. And Mark White, did he lose much time on the exit? No, not really. I think the Civic Type R should now have the pace to clear off at the front of the pack. Wriggling around under braking there as they turn into the Britain chicane. And into the slightly awkward right-hander at Knickerbrook. Meanwhile, Townsend pulling over at Lodge Corner. So that number 64 Peugeot that we've just been watching, Harry Townsend, the man from Cambridge, pulling off at Lodge Corner and finding a gap in the barriers, thankfully, so he could pull the car well out of harm's way. No need even really for yellow flags anymore. But he is out of the race. That looked like a mistake for the race leader. Mark White wide at Druids, Ian, so he's not escaping yet.
It did. He's not having this all his own way, is he? Isn't Chalky White, 46-year-old from Wantage, an operations manager for Mission Motorsport. And yet he's got his work cut here to keep that RAF engineering car of Alex Smith behind him, and also Dave Russell as well, the 35-year-old. Two-time Burkitt winner as well is Dave Russell. Mark White now taking the fastest lap of the race, 1:57.909, which is outside the lap record, which within that class is held by Mark Inman. There's Phil England, who's rather lonely in 4th place now, isn't he? He's about 10 seconds behind the leaders and nearly 10 seconds ahead of Adam Dewis as well. But it's much closer for the leader, in particular, actually, for 2nd place now. So it feels to me as if Smith is starting to have to defend more from Russell than he's at sort of attack Mark White now.
Yeah, I think you might be right, actually. Maybe he made a mistake somewhere off camera, but either way, the leader definitely getting away. We've had a spin up at the Shell hairpin. That looks a bit BMW 116-y, doesn't it? Or maybe a Peugeot. One of the smaller cars. It's on the grass. No, it was a BMW, and it rejoins just behind the leading trio, number 44, I think that was, which is Gemma Barnsdale from Market Raisin. So Gemma, unfortunately, has had a rotation, but gets going again, albeit slipping 1 lap down. But yeah, Shell has been the scene of a bit of drama already today, hasn't it? And drama continues.
Certainly does. And so there's now some traffic to be dealt with in the form of number 88, which is Adam Stanbury. And he'll be lapped by the race leader, so there's now a slower car between the race leader and the 2nd place man, Alex Smith. And he is pulling away now, isn't he, Mark White? Most definitely from Alex Smith. Oh, and that's a problem for number 34, Sean Graham. The Sultan Low Cost has gone off there into the barriers. He's just trying to find a way over the barriers now to a position of safety. And where is that? Is that at Clay Hill?
Might
no,
be
it's
Lodge.
Deer Leap, isn't it?
Yeah.
Deer Leap, yeah. Well, foot of Deer Leap, between Lodge and Deer Leap. Trying to work out which part of the circuit that was. So yellow flags on the way into Lodge Corner. So there's going to be no overtaking there now. 8 minutes of this race left to go, and the leader's just going through that part of the circuit now, and of course can't overtake that back marker until he's gone past that green lighting panel.
And because of that, he's lost a lot of momentum over the start-finish straight, and here comes another challenge for the race lead. Alex Smith up the inside line. There's just about an Integra-sized gap, but he hasn't got the momentum on corner exit. That was really opportunistic stuff, that, from Alexander Smith. It almost got him back into the race lead, but in traffic now, this race will take on a new dynamic. We still have a third of the race to go, just over 7.5 minutes left. And with every back marker comes a new opportunity for Alex Smith and David Russell to get back on terms with Mark White.
Absolutely right. Another 116 being lapped that time as well. That's the Mount Highland number 4 car. So there's quite a bit of traffic for the quicker guys to deal with in this 116. Sorry, in this Armed Forces Race Challenge race with the 116s, the slower cars. Very much forming part of that traffic. There's quite a few of them. Of course, we've got the 116 trophy race a little bit later on as well for similar cars. And Dave Russell having to go the long way around the MX-5 there. Peter McNichol, that was, number 14, the 67-year-old RAF veteran from Mablethorpe, who's been racing in since 1981. It's a 1994 car that he's built up himself, but Dave Russell just managed to negotiate that, albeit slightly more arduously than he would have hoped at Britain's.
Yeah, just put himself in a slightly tricky spot there, didn't he? But managed to come out the other side without actually going off the track, which was fairly impressive. Makes his way up and over Deer Leap. The lead gap now once again starting to extend. Mark White back to Alex Smith. You can't fault either of them, though. They've both been prepared to get stuck in here. They've both had stints in the lead of the race, and they're still only separated by, what, just under a second or so, maybe, as they arrive down at Lodge Corner. Integra late on the brakes, sweeps into the right hand of David Russell's BMW. Looks like it's becoming a real handful, wriggling around under braking into the final turn. Leaders come across the line, and I think that will now be the biggest lead that Mark White has had. Yeah, nearly 1.4 seconds and a new fastest lap to boot. So now he's starting to settle into it. There's no traffic on the horizon for the time being, and he is starting to assert his authority.
Yep, so heading down to the Cascades with 5 3/4 minutes of the race left to go. There is the race leader, Mark White, number 65, from number 84, Alex Smith in second place, 1.4 seconds between them. Dave Russell in third, 4.2 seconds behind the leader now, so he's lost a bit of time and momentum with that issue at Britain's a lap ago. But of course, as we've said, it's also about being consistent as you can. And that is more tricky in the traffic than it is when you're out on your own, of course. And those performance index results will be decided once a spreadsheet has been cranked up later on no doubt. Phil England, he's done some of the back marker lappery as well. He's gone through, still in 4th place in car number 8. 45-year-old project manager from Louth in that 2-litre turbo car prepared by Team Monkfish Racing, 1997 car. It's done sprints and time attack over the years, that car, before it's been prepared for racing in the Armed Forces Race Challenge. I think it was a road car as well for Phil initially. And there you can see it's got the Army Motorsport livery and logo on the side of that particular car, but he is very much out on his own. He's 15 seconds behind David Russell. He's 8 seconds ahead of Adam Dewis, who's in that BMW. Oh, and there's a yellow flag. Someone's gone off at Cascades. We'll try and pick up what's gone on there. Oh, it's the Chris Dancer car. Well, he's danced off. He's walked off the circuit, hasn't he, in the number 15 Escort Mark 1. But it looks like he's managed to get all the way through the gravel trap and back onto the circuit. I suppose being an Escort Mark 1, it sort of got rallying type routes, and it thought it would head off into the gravel.
Yes, did well to dig itself out of that gravel though and continue on its way. Meanwhile, the race leader Mark White heads through Old Hall Corner again, having set another fastest lap of the race, 156.1, 1.3 seconds quicker that time than Alex Smith, so he really is starting to extend his margin. Had a change for 6th place on the previous lap, by the way. Jonathan Candler ahead of Keith Atwood. That was Peugeot ahead of Mini, and it was a change for 2nd place in class as well.
Looks like a problem there for Kieran Lambourne with his 330 BMW with the exhaust dropping off the back of it. We've got the 51 car just ahead of him, which is Ian Cooper in the Daewoo Nexus. So this is the battle for 13th and 14th positions, which is just heading through Knickerbrook, then up Clay Hill now. We've got 3 minutes or so left on the clock in this race, which has been very busy indeed, with more than 30 cars starting it. And a variety of different performances. It's been certainly very entertaining up at the front of the field, with some interesting battles down the order and the lappery to deal with as well. But there's the race leader. You can see he's got a couple of slower cars now, Mark White, between himself and Alex Smith. One of them is one of the MR2s, and I suspect, but on the back end shot, yeah, Alex Smith has cleared the other car, which was one of the 116s as well. Blue flags waving to those slower cars to let them know that quicker drivers are coming through. David Russell also trying to make up some ground there as well. We're very much into the closing stages now, though, Andy.
Yes, we are. We're going to have time for 2 more laps probably after this one, unless they end the race early, as we've seen for some of the other categories so far today. But so far, everything looking good for Mark White, who pitches the Civic Type R into Lodge Corner. He's got the MGB ahead to put a lap down. And quite a lot of traffic on the horizon, actually. That won't exactly be the sight that Mark White wanted to be greeted with there as he burst over Deer Leap. Means there's quite a bit more overtaking to be done before the end of the race. One of the little battles going on ahead of him is the Astro MX-5 versus the Hancock Peugeot. So that is Inglis versus Hancock for 17th overall. But for the lead, I believe that is Ian, in Class D, isn't it? The number 6 Astro MX-5 leads the class, but not by very much. Yeah,
that's developed as the race has gone. Inglis, I think, has dropped back a little bit. Trevor Hancock has moved forward, and now as we go into the closing stages, there is a bit of a battle on for Class D victory, which is for the for the cars with the lowest power to weight ratio. But Mark White now just getting himself between those. He'll soon pass the other car as well, that of Dougie Inglis, who's been leading this class. In that opening meeting of the season, it was Dougie Inglis who took both of the Class D wins there. Of course, Mark White was successful overall and in Class A on the Indy circuit at Brands Hatch there, so he's looking for a hat-trick. So too is Dougie Inglis. Paul Waterhouse has just been lapped as well in the number 230 car as well. He's in 16th position, just ahead of that Class D battle.
Yep, there is the Class D leader then, Doug Inglis in the number 6 Mazda MX-5. Rare, really, in this country to see a Mazda MX-5 with a hard top on it, but that is perhaps the more aerodynamic way to race one of those cars. He's definitely benefited through being lapped, if you like, by Mark White, hasn't he? As there's a lock-up for the number 23 Peugeot, which almost deposits itself in the gravel trap. That was Alex Waldeck in the Peugeot 306, right in front of the race leader.
Yeah, who is heading into Lodge Corner with only about 20 seconds on the clock. And we'll see if we do get the checkered flag this time or not, because it's going to be very nip and tuck in terms of the time. There's another flag, driving standards flag, being shown as well. So no, he's going to go on to his final lap of the race. Then one more lap for Mark White to go. And he's got a very decent advantage over Alex Smith there. It's 5 seconds amid traffic. And Smith now only has 0.7 of a second to play with over Dave Russell. So second and third, could we have a change there before the end?
Well, we may well have, actually, because Russell's had a good run out of Old Hall Corner. Alex Smith, for some reason, losing pace in the closing stages. And the BMW right on his tail now as they drop down through Cascade. They may be in different classes, but if there's another position overall to be gained here, then David Russell is going to give it a go. Down the Lakeside Straight they go, still Integra ahead of BMW, but perhaps it was just the traffic that was delaying Alex Smith. If so, he won't be terribly thrilled to find another slow car in front of him into a yellow flag zone at Shell, because there's a car pointing the wrong way again on the inside of the track at Shell. To the inside had gone Russell, but realising, I think, that it was a yellow flag zone, he bailed out of the move on Alex Smith, but that's another car that's ended up on the inside at Shell. That's an odd place to go off.
Yeah, quite unusual, isn't it? So Dave Russell now having another go, but he's got another car involved as well. That's that Alex Waldeck Peugeot 5, another of the RAF cars, and he's not giving Dave Russell any room at all, really, as they come up over hilltop. Russell will pass him now on the way down towards his lots, but that's done Russell's hopes of getting P2 overall no good whatsoever.
2 RAF liveried cars as well. They're not exactly working together as the team, were they, as they came out of the Britain's chicane on different laps too, which makes that all the more awkward, really. But anyway, Mark White makes his way through Druids Corner. He has no idea this has all been kicking off behind him, because he'd cleared off already by 5 seconds at the beginning of the lap. He's further clear now as he heads towards Lodge Corner for the final time.
Yeah, indeed. So White into Lodge, where we lost the Sean Graham Sultan low cost earlier on. Out of the confession he comes up over Dearly, and he'll see the checkered flag this time. He does, and takes the win for the 3rd time this season in the Armed Forces Race Challenge. Alex Smith is going to come across the line second, a long way behind, 8.5 seconds. That doesn't really tell the story of the race, does it? In second place, and Dave Russell has got a penalty by the looks of it. So that must be a penalty for was that a jump start? I don't know if we've got any notification. Plus 10, so that looks like a jump start penalty for Dave Russell.
Out of position at the start.
Yeah, that's effectively what it is. So Dave Russell, I think he's still going to be 3rd though. Such was the gap over Phil England's in 4th place. So it made that sort of battle for 2nd and 3rd somewhat academic, if you like. Phil England, number 8, takes 4th place. 5th place going the way of, or it will do, number 13, Adam Jewis. He's just coming across the line now. And then Jonathan Candler, number 1, last year's champion, in 6th place in the Peugeot 306. And then the rest of them still to come through. It looks like Keith Atwood is going to be 7th in the Mini, number 815. Then the next car through should be Paul Chapman in the Clio. Let's see if it is, in the 113 car. There he is, he's just heading through now. Paul Martin Jones has made a place on the last lap. It's all the Pauls, isn't it? 8th, 9th and 10th. Paul Martin Jones ahead of Paul Meller in the Caterham on this final lap of the race. So they are turning their way through the final couple of corners. It is Chapman 8th, Martin Jones 9th and Meller in 10th position in the end. So class wins go to Mark White and to Dave Russell and to Phil England. And I think Doug Inglis has already gone across the line as well. Yes, he has, as the class winner in Class D by about 0.7 of a second over Trevor Hancock. So, again, rich entertainment that, Andy, from the Armed Forces Race Challenge.
Yeah, as you said, the end result doesn't do it justice. That was a brilliant 3-way tussle at the front, but as we predicted, some of the lower class battles were equally as entertaining. That Class D scrap in particular. There is the Kieran Lambourne BMW E46, which had that exhaust dragging on the floor race long. He was never called into the pit lane that we know of to get it sorted, so he was able to complete the race, and the Army Motorsport liveried BMW, I think the last driver to see the checkered flag, finishing down in 12th position. So the race leaders lapped everybody up to and including 13th place. That gives you an idea of how much lapped traffic there was to deal with there, and we saw, didn't we, how much of a factor that was in the race. It certainly provided lots of entertainment amongst the front runners, and Mark White a deserved race winner.
He certainly was then. So at the end of 20 minutes of racing, 11 laps were completed by Mark White in the number 65 Honda Civic Type R. He finished 8.5 seconds clear of number 84, Alex Russell, in second place. In third position, it was number 12, Dave Russell, who won Class C in the BMW E36. Fourth to number 8, Phil England in the Subaru Impreza. Fifth, number 13, Adam Jewis. Sorry, Phil England also won his class as well, Class A, I should say. Fifth to number 13, Adam Jewis in the BMW. Sixth, number 1, Jonathan Candler in the Peugeot 306. Seventh was number 8, 1.5, Keith Atwood in the Mini. Eighth, 113, Paul Chapman in the Renault. Ninth, 62, Paul Martin Jones in the Holden. And 10th was number 22, Paul Meller in the Caterham, ahead of Ben McLaughlin, who was the championship leader coming into this round. Kieran Lambourne, Ian Cooper and Chris Dancer. And a bit further back down the order, we will see who was in 15th place. That was Alex Waldeck ahead of Paul Waterhouse. And then Doug Inglis won Class D in car number 6 in 17th position overall ahead of Trevor Hancock. Andrew Holmes and Richard Brown round out the top 20. The best of the 116s was Seb Unwin in number 17. So that's the results of the Armed Forces Race Challenge. There'll be a second race for them later on at around about 5:05 this afternoon. Cars heading into Parc Fermé. A reminder of all of the activity that's going on here at BMW Live today. You've got the drift rides, you've got the Scale Extra, you've got the sim racing even, you've got the trade shows, you've got the car club displays of BMWs, Alpinas and Mod Minis, you've got face painting, craft shows. You can also head out for a meal at the Checkers restaurant, of course, as well. Lots and lots of entertainment on the infield. We're going to have the grid walk. That's going to take place relatively shortly. So make your way over towards the podium area in the paddock if you'd like to join the grid walk. That will be on track very shortly indeed. So we'll keep an eye out for that. And we will be hearing from some of the drivers during the course of that grid walk. I think we'll hopefully hear from some of the 116 drivers as well in pit lane before that as well. And we will have 7 more races coming for you after the lunch break. But for now, we'll head down to Kieran Mogg to hear from our winner in the Armed Forces Race Challenge.
We're back down here in Parc Fermé to what you call a very eclectic car park, I believe. We've got a BMW E36 here, we've got a Honda Civic, we have a Mazda MX-5 and, of course, Subaru WRX. We're going to take a chat with our overall winner, Mark White. Mark, he's over here. Mark, can I just grab a chat with you? Congratulations.
Thank you very
you worked the traffic very well to your advantage there.
Yeah, I got lucky, good racecraft, a little bit of both, I think. All fell at the right time. I got caught out badly at Brands last time out through back markers, so yeah, managed to fight my way through, which was really good. Some really close racing with Alex and Dave to start with, and then I think these two started tussling each other and managed to get out ahead a little bit. So yeah, just managed to keep it smooth and keep it on the black stuff.
Alex was really putting on the pressure at one point as well, and obviously you had to really defend for your position. How are you sort of taking that into the race later on?
Well, I'm actually starting P3, so Alex and Dave will both be ahead of me. So I'll just try and repeat what I did this time around. I'll just try and stay consistent, stay close. I think I've got a little more oomph out of the corners than Alex. Dave does really well. He's a Class C car competing with the two Class B cars. Yeah, just try and be consistent and wait for the gap.
Absolutely. Well, good luck later on then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Speaking of David, obviously you're Class C winner. You were mixing it up with obviously the front guys as well. You must be pleased with that.
Yeah, really good race. It was brilliant watching those two fighting in front. I had the best seat in the house, and Alex was all over him. He had his elbows out. He was trying his absolute hardest, and bearing in mind his car's only just inside Class B as well, so he drove phenomenally well. It's a shame he's not stood here with us, really. But yeah, it was a great race. Nearly a helicopter crash on the last lap with some back markers, but we survived, and here we are. It's all good.
Excellent. And how are you feeling ahead of the race later?
Looking forward to it. We're a little bit the wrong way round. Chalky's behind us on the grid, so I think Alex and I in true RAF fashion will try and fly side by side and keep him behind us. But don't tell him in case he's listening. But hopefully we'll have a good, clean race again. And everybody out there was brilliant. You know, AFRC is good, clean racing.
Absolutely. Well, good luck later on then.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you. We'll head down, obviously, to our other class winners over here. So, firstly, we have got Douglas Inglis. Firstly, Congratulations, obviously, on the win. Now, Ian, up in the commentary box, was talking about how you've got a hardtop MX-5. Do you want to talk us through the decision of that?
Yeah, so it wasn't really my decision, actually. It was my father-in-law. He was a fiberglass laminator for many years, and he decided that he didn't like, he wanted me to do some more aero, so he did a little project for him, and he made this up for me, and it was and it's actually quite a good little talking point. And the only downside is it gets hot in there. It gets really hot sat in that gearbox, but for like logistics of even just moving it around in aerodynamics, as the car stays dry now, even in the wet conditions. Before, open top trailer, everything was just soaking inside. So yeah, but really good, really good.
There is obviously a talk of some perhaps rain coming later. We don't know for definite, but there is maybe. So is that obviously giving you the confidence then if the car is that stable in the wet?
Yeah, this car goes so well in the wet. I think I've got a little bit of a safe setup on it at the minute. I just never had a chance to change it. If the rain comes, perfect. A couple of damper settings, it's good to go, and I quite like the wet because it's cheaper in it, less tyre, less fuel, all that good stuff in it. So yeah, and it's good fun. It's just slightly happy, but yeah, it's fantastic. And she's done me well again today, so I'm proud of it.
Absolutely, congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we'll speak to our Class A winner, Phil England. Fantastic win again from you. Did the same in Brands Hatch. Looking to the same again later on?
Hopefully, yeah. So it's a pretty good start. I was boxed in a bit, but yeah, I couldn't keep up with the three in front of me. But yeah, it's going around all right, so yeah, happy with that.
And of course, with this being four-wheel drive, if it does rain a bit later on, that's giving you some confidence?
Maybe. It didn't help at Brands, did it? But we'll see.
Bit of a different nature of a circuit, though.
Yeah, it's a bit more faster flowing and yeah, more curbs to it. But yeah.
Absolutely. Well, good luck later on then.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. And we'll be heading to a quick VT over in the BMW section. I can't remember what it's called. I was told I can't remember what it's called, but yeah. I can't remember. Anyway, so we're heading over there just for a couple of minutes, and then we're into the pit walk in just a couple of minutes' time. I'll see you then.